So this is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast as number 12 in the serial investigation on behalf of the baby kittens, the Princess Regent kitten ones, on Sunday the 25th of August 2024. I'm going to continue the narrative commentary on the 49 days of Liz latest Truss as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, written by Anthony Seldon, who has written the book on Liz Truss. The book is Truss at number 10, How Not to be Prime Minister by Anthony Seldon, with Jonathan Meakin, Meakin. And it's officially due to be published on the 29th of August 2024. Now, this is a continuation of the piece introduced in the Times magazine on Saturday, that is yesterday, 24th of August 2024. The short-lived Prime Minister thought everything was fine until her cut to the 45p tax rate collided with reality, as Anthony Seldon reveals in his new book. This is the bit on the Sunday Times News Review on page 18. So let's see what Seldon is quoted in this one as saying, which is, "It's Tom Scholar and his fucking mates at the IMF who are responsible for all the fuss," Truss told aides on Friday, September the 30th of the year when she was there. The Conservative Party's annual conference in Birmingham was due to begin the following day. I'm reading from the Anthony Seldon book, so the copyright belongs to them, Anthony Seldon, the Sunday Times. And it goes on. "The package is absolutely fine. It's just a communications problem. We simply haven't explained it clearly enough." She was bouncing between two states of mind, from full-scale denial to believing all kinds of conspiracy theories. In this case, blaming the ousted and highly respected Permanent Secretary of the Treasury for the International Monetary Fund's highly unusual criticism of the radical mini-budget unveiled by Truss's Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng the previous week. She was inhabiting tiny bubble. She had cut herself off completely from what the media was saying and what her MPs were talking about, lamented one of her senior advisors. We're not having newspapers in the office anymore, she told officials at the start of her premiership. In a sense, they found this a welcome change from Boris Johnson, who'd fume over stories and fire off angry, critical messages. But Truss went disastrously far in the opposite direction. To compensate, her team prepared a daily digest for her of the key news stories, including what was happening to the pound and on the markets. We put it into her box every day, but our suspicion was that she never worked her way down that far, one recalled. Truss, Kwarteng, and their friends were just talking to each other in an echo chamber, constantly banging on about how right they were, said one aide. It's just pledge. I'll read that again. It's just hedge fund managers bugging around, was Quatang's verdict at the end of the week on the market chaos that followed his mini budget. Friday, the 30th of September, was a balmy day. Trusts had wanted to convene a staff meeting in Downing Street before they packed up and left for the conference in Birmingham. Delays meant she shifted the meeting to her suite at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. When they gathered, they found her in a highly excitable state. Her mind focused on her conference speech. How is it reading? What do you think? Am I saying the right things? Nothing was going to spoil the conference focus on growth and economy. Word had gone out to the private offices of secretaries of state across Whitehall with the emphatic message: the Prime Minister doesn't want there to be any policy announcement at conference. The majority of her ministers are still, I'll read that starting in the paragraph again. The majority of her ministers were still working their way through their letters of appointment and were content to do as asked, but not all. Some were thinking of their own futures. Suella Braverman and Chloe Smith, who were Home Secretary and Work and Pension Secretary, had either not read the directive or chose to ignore it. Truss was exasperated when she found out. What don't they understand? Nothing must take away from our focus on growth, she shouted. Then, when Braverman submitted her speech talking about further legislation to reduce migration, Truss exploded. The Home Secretary was summoned to explain herself, but reluctant to haul her over the coals, Truss was all sweetness and light, leaving Braverman with the impression that she had got what she wanted. It was typically Liz. She never wants to be the bad guy, ever. She always wants other people to break the bad news, said one of her advisors. So it was left to her staff to explain that the Home Secretary was to edit out anything that could be construed as new policy. Braverman did not forget that the Prime Minister was not strong willed enough to deliver this reprimand herself. Truss spent some of Saturday out and about greeting MPs and having conversations with journalists. The more she listened, the more it dawned on her that holding to Kwarteng's key pledge to remove the 45p rate of income tax on those earning over £150,000 would be unsustainable. She was learning, as if for the first time, that MPs were unhappy with the economics of the mini budget. She thought they would be delighted, and she was shocked, said an aide. The intelligence seeping up to her suite through the day incensed and stunned her. Somehow she had managed to unite a broad coalition of MPs, disunited over many things, but all believing she was getting it badly wrong. It was becoming clear that a rebellion of Tory MPs over the cut to the 45p rate would threaten the message of the mini budget legislation through Parliament. Sunday, the 2nd of October, was to prove one of the pivotal days of her short premiership. Early that morning, her senior team had met and concluded that Truss wouldn't budge. The media were accordingly briefed that the lady is not returning. In her morning briefing, before she went on BBC One Sunday with Laura Kuenssberg, Truss was palpably unsettled and edgy. Her "we are sticking with the policy" appearance was followed within moments by Michael Gove launching a sustained broadside on the mini budget. That snake, Truss's standard moniker for Michael Gove, she hissed. When out of earshot of the television crew, she knew what Michael was like, but she was surprised because she never thought he would knife her so brazenly. She imagined her first party conference would be one big happy conservative gathering with everyone supporting each other, said Anaid. She was particularly put out because she had held a confidential conversation with Gove that late morning on Tuesday, September the 27th, acting on advice that he was biddable and that she should bury the hatchet, especially before the conference. He was called in. I'm not quite certain why I got the summons. It was very nice of her, but I was rather perplexed by what she was trying to say, recalled Gove. They spent three quarters of an hour in a state of confusion opposite each other in number 10's terracotta room, no one taking notes. According to Gove, he told Truss why he disagreed strongly with the 45p tax rate change. But there are some matters on which we agree, for example, Israel, she interjected. Gove began to feel that she was sizing him up to become British ambassador to Israel, which rankled because he didn't like to think he was being bought off. Not wanting to rebuff her altogether, he said, "You never know, Liz. After the general election, things might be different." After Gove left, she bounced up to her two top aides, saying, "He's fully on board." She never imagined he would betray her less than a week later, said an aide. I didn't see how she possibly could have concluded that she had won me round, Gove himself said of their meeting. All Sunday she brooded. Perhaps she would have to bow to the inevitable. All day she had been messaging different members of her team saying, "Come up for a glass of wine." It is clear that she was on a journey, realizing she had a full scale rebellion brewing. At 7 p.m., her team received a WhatsApp message to say Liz might want us all to meet up. Followed rapidly by a text from Truss herself demanding, "Where are you? Come to my room now." Kwarteng was having dinner at the Malmaison Hotel with the editor of The Sun, Victoria Newton, and the paper's past and present political editors, Trevor Kavanagh and Harry Cole. They were awaiting their main course when Kwarteng's media advisor stepped away from the table to pick up a call. The Prime Minister wants to see Kwasi at once to discuss dropping the 45p rate, he was told. "Can't it wait?" he whispered. "No, the Prime Minister wants to see him now." Protestations about how damaging it would look proved unsuccessful. Out of the light of sight of the others, I'll read that again. Out of the line of sight of the others, so he thought, he raised four fingers, then five, to Kwarteng to indicate the topic. But Cole spotted it and surmised what might be happening. Kwarteng was visibly unhappy at being dragged away. When he arrived at Truss's suite, he found her Chief of Staff Mark Fulbrook holding the floor. "The Prime Minister and I have been discussing the matter of the 45p tax rate. I think we have to do something about it. I'm not sure. I think we should tough it out," Kwarteng replied. "I'm sorry, Kwasi, but I've come to the conclusion we have to go for it. But why the change now? If we do, it will overshadow the entire conference. It's already overshadowing the conference, she shot back. Those present noted how their conversation fell into the usual pattern, with Kwarteng putting up a fight and making his case strongly, then backtracking and conceding to her. After 10 minutes, they had agreed that the U-turn would have to be made. We get it. And we have listened. Kwarteng tweeted at 7:30 a.m. on Monday, the 3rd of October. Hopes the announcement would regain. The initiative took a bashing when Gove let it be known he'd still vote against any real-term cut in benefits. Worse, the former cabinet minister Damian Green and Esther McVey, read that again. Worse, the former cabinet ministers Damian Green and Esther McVey joined in the criticism. Truss now found herself under attack from supporters of Johnson, troubling given that his supporters had propelled her into Downing Street, as well as Sunak supporters. The conference was falling apart in front of the whole country. Truss's deputy prime minister, party chair, and chief whip all let it be known they were angry with the critics, but none were weighty figures in the party. The vacuum showed just how paper thin her support in cabinet and party was. It was transactional only. That backed her for personal gain. They were now re-evaluating their investments, said the former chief whip, Sir Gavin Williamson. You can't expect mercenaries to throw away their lives in battle. Something would have to give. Now, that's the full bit I have read of this article in the news review section of the Sunday Times. How Liz Truss's most explosive policy blew up in our face. Blowing up in our face. Now, Dulwich College headmaster resigns after losing temper at staff party. Now, this is the piece about Joseph Spence. The headmaster of one of Britain's most elite private schools has stepped down after he lost his temper with a colleague at a staff summer party. Joseph Spence became master of Dulwich College in 2009. In a letter to teaching staff and parents who are charged up to £55,000 a year, he wrote that he would stand down next month. As some of you may have heard, I lost my temper with a member of staff at the staff party on the 4th of July, the only time in my career that anything like this happened. Spence, 64, wrote in the letter, That incident has caused me to reflect on the toll which leading a complex multinational institution like Dulwich has taken on me, particularly given the significant challenges we have all faced in recent years. He said he had apologized to the colleague. A letter from the chair of governors, Adrian Carr, said that Spence, who had been planning to retire at the end of the academic year in August 2025, would remain at the school in an ambassadorial and advisory capacity. Carr wrote that the incident led to a thorough investigation by an independent investigator appointed by the governors, and appropriate action has been taken to the governor's satisfaction. Robert Milne, headmaster of Emmanuel School, a rival London private school, had already been chosen to take over from Spence in September next year. An interim headmaster has been appointed until Mill takes up his post. Dulwich College counts Nigel Farage and the Oscar nominated actor Chiwetel Ejiofor among its former pupils now. Nigel Farage is not a good advertisement, is it? Last year, it generated 36.8 million in net school fees. The college has recently expanded its network of international schools with openings in China, South Korea, and Singapore. In March 2021, during Spencer's tenure, Dulwich College was among a group of London private schools that faced allegations of sexual assault by former and current pupils and of allowing a rape culture to exist. At the time, Spence described the reported behavior as distressing and entirely unacceptable. Spence wrote last week, I had always wanted to get to the point where I had seen us through those challenges and would be able to pass on the torch. His advisory role will focus on the ambition of raising funds for bursaries and on carrying out ambassadorial duties as required, he said. From next year, a new government policy will mean private school fees are not exempt from VAT. Dulwich College and Spence were contacted for comment, which means they both refused to comment. There is a piece by Kemi Badenoff. He's saying that the next Tory leader's first job is to shrug off the Blair straitjacket. I'm going to finish this one at this stage because it's 23, well, just coming up to 24 minutes.